It started with a drizzle that smelled like dust and gasoline, the kind of evening when people hurry home, clutching their coats tighter, hoping to escape the cold before it bites too deep. But not Landry Solomon. He wasn't in a hurry. He walked slow, steady, and calm. A tall black man in a brown trench coat, his hat tilted low against the rain. He had just left a meeting that went on too long and was heading home, tired but thinking about tomorrow. Landry always walked home, said it helped him think, helped him remember who he was before the meetings, the suits, the handshakes. He liked the rhythm of his steps on the cracked sidewalks, the way he could nod at the shopkeepers who still recognized him, the way he felt like part of the town again. But that night, as he passed the corner of Willow and 3rd, a quiet block with one broken streetlight, he heard the crunch of tires behind him. A police car slowed down, then stopped. He didn't turn around, not yet. He just kept walking, counting his steps in his head. 1, 2, 3. A voice cracked through the rain. "Hey, you! Hands where I can see them!" Landry froze. The tone wasn't one of curiosity. It was one of warning. He turned slowly, raising his hands slightly. The light from the police car hit his face, bright and blinding. 2 officers stepped out. One tall and sharp-faced, the other shorter, with a thick jacket that made him look puffed up. The tall one spoke again. "ID." Landry blinked. "Evening, officer. What's the problem?" "ID," the tall one said again. "You match a description." Landry's voice stayed calm, though his heartbeat began to race. "Description of what?" "Suspicious activity. We've had reports," the shorter officer said. His badge read Robin Hood. Landry slowly reached into his coat. "All right, I'm just getting my wallet." "Keep your hands where I can see them," Robin Hood snapped, his hand twitching near his holster. Landry froze again. His chest tightened. He wanted to speak, but he also didn't want to give them a reason. The tall one circled him like he was prey. "What's in the bag?" "Work papers," Landry said quietly. Robin Hood stepped closer. "Mind if I take a look?" "It's just documents. You can check, but please be careful." Robin Hood didn't wait. He snatched the bag, unzipped it, and started pulling things out. Papers, folders, a notebook, a pen. Then a key card with a seal and the letters CM printed on it. "What's this?" Robin Hood asked, squinting at it. Before Landry could answer, the tall one grabbed his arm and twisted it behind his back. "You're under." "Late," Landry hissed in pain. "You're making a mistake." "Sure we are," Robin Hood muttered, still flipping through the papers. Landry stumbled as they pushed him toward the car. His hat fell into a puddle. He felt the metal cuff snap tight, cold, heavy, humiliating. People across the street slowed their steps, watching. One woman stopped, pulling her child closer. Landry wanted to shout, to tell them who he was, but his throat locked up. Something about the flashing red and blue lights made his words stick. Then from the passenger side, Robin Hood's voice came sharp. "Hey, wait a minute!" The tall officer turned. "What?" "This ID, this name, Landry Solomon. Doesn't that sound familiar?" The tall one shrugged. "Probably some street guy." Robin Hood squinted, his lips moving as if he was trying to remember something. He turned the ID around, and there, printed small but clear, was a gold emblem, and the title, Mayor of Eastbrook. Robin Hood froze. He said slowly. "You might want to take a look at this." The tall officer frowned and walked over. His eyes fell on the ID, and for a long moment, he didn't say anything. The rain kept falling, soft but steady. Landry looked up at them, breathing hard. "Can I speak now?" Robin Hood's face went pale. "Sir, this can't be right." "It's right," Landry said quietly. "You just handcuffed your mayor." The tall officer stepped back as if burned. You're Mayor Solomon?" Landry didn't answer. He just looked at them, the cuffs still biting into his wrists. Robin Hood fumbled for the key, nearly dropping it. He unlocked the cuffs with shaking hands. "Sir, we're so sorry. There was a report of what?" Landry's voice cut through him like a blade. "Of a black man walking home?" Robin Hood opened his mouth, but no words came out. The tall one looked away, pretending to wipe rain off his face. Landry rubbed his wrists, the red marks stinging. His bag lay open in the puddle, papers soaked. For a moment no one spoke. The only sound was the rain tapping on metal. Then Landry said, softly but clear, "You didn't even ask where I was going. You just saw me and decided I looked wrong." Robin Hood swallowed hard. "Sir, Landry raised his hand. "Don't." He bent down, picked up his hat, shook off the water and placed it back on his head. Then he took his bag, stuffed the wet papers inside, and turned to leave. Robin Hood took a step forward. "Please, sir, if we could just—" Landry stopped and turned his head slightly. "You'll see me again soon, Officer Robin Hood." The words hung in the air like thunder waiting to strike. That night, Robin Hood couldn't sleep. He replayed the moment again and again. The way the mayor's voice didn't rise, didn't shake, didn't threaten. It just carried something heavier. Disappointment. At the station, rumors spread fast. The chief called them in the next morning, his face tight. "You two know what you've done. You handcuffed the mayor of Eastbrook." The tall officer stammered. "Sir, we thought—" "You didn't think. You profiled the only man in this town trying to make things better." Robin Hood sat stiffly, hands clasped. "Sir, we'll apologize." "You'll do more than that," the chief said. "He's calling a town meeting tomorrow. Specifically, he asked for both of you to be there." Robin Hood felt his stomach drop. The next day, the hall was full. Reporters, townspeople, flashing cameras, everyone was whispering about it. When Landry walked in, the room went quiet. No suit today, just that same brown trench coat, same calm eyes. He took the stage, looked around and said, "Before we talk about justice, I want to talk about what it feels like to be unseen." The crowd leaned in. Even the air felt like it was listening. Landry told them everything. How he'd been stopped, searched, cuffed. How none of the officers even asked who he was. Robin Hood sat in the front row, face burning. Then Landry said something no one expected. "I don't want them fired." A murmur rippled through the crowd. "I want them to understand. Not just them, all of us. Because if this can happen to me, it can happen to anyone." Robin Hood looked up. Their eyes met. Landry's gaze wasn't angry anymore. It was sad, but strong. And that's when Robin Hood realized something. This wasn't about punishment. It was about truth. What happened next would change the whole town. But you'll have to stick around until the end, because you're about to see how the man they harassed turned out to be their mayor, and what he did next would shake every heart in Eastbrook.
The silence after Landry's words hung thick in the room. The crowd didn't know whether to clap or hold their breath. Robin Hood could feel the weight of every eye in the hall pressing down on him like a stone. Landry stood still for a moment, scanning the faces in front of him. The faces of people who voted for him, people who waved to him at grocery stores, people who now looked away, ashamed. Then he said softly, "When I ran for mayor, I promised change, but change doesn't come from speeches. It comes from moments like this, when we're forced to see what's broken." The room stayed silent, except for the distant click of a reporter's camera. Robin Hood's chest ached. He wanted to stand up and apologize, but his legs felt glued to the floor. Landry's eyes landed on him. "Officer Robin Hood," he said, his tone calm but firm. "Stand up, please." Robin Hood's throat went dry. He rose slowly, every movement stiff. "Tell me," Landry said, "when you saw me walking that night, what did you see?" Robin Hood's mouth opened, but the words got tangled. I saw someone who looked out of place," he stammered. "Out of place," Landry repeated quietly. "On a street in the same town I've lived in my entire life." Robin Hood's face flushed red. "I'm sorry, sir. I wasn't thinking. It was raining, it was dark, and—" Landry's voice cut him off, still calm. "You were thinking. You just weren't thinking right." That hit harder than a shout. The mayor turned to the crowd. "I don't tell this story to shame anyone. I tell it because it's not about one mistake. It's about a pattern, a way of seeing each other that's poisoned by fear." A murmur rippled through the audience, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably. "I could have been anyone that night. A teenager walking home, a father coming back from work, a woman getting groceries. The story would have ended the same way, with cuffs and fear and humiliation. But what made this story different?" He paused. "Status," he said. "Because once they saw I was mayor, everything changed. Suddenly, I was worth respect. But shouldn't every person be worth that, mayor or not?" That question hit the room like lightning. You could almost feel hearts shifting, minds stirring. Robin Hood lowered his eyes. He felt small, not because Landry was scolding him, but because everything Landry said was true. After the meeting ended, reporters swarmed the front steps, shouting questions. But Landry didn't answer any. He just told them, "Watch what happens next." And he meant it. The next morning, Eastbrook woke up to a shock. Landry announced something brand new, a Walk in My Shoes campaign. Every police officer, city worker, and local leader would spend one day each month shadowing residents from different backgrounds. No badges, no uniforms, just walking, listening, learning. The idea split the town in two. Some called it brilliant, others called it embarrassing. Robin Hood didn't know what to think. But when the chief called him into his office and handed him a schedule that said, "Day 1, Shadow Mayor Landry Solomon," his stomach dropped. When the day came, Landry met him outside City Hall. No cameras, no crowd, just rain again, soft and cold. "You ready?" Landry asked. Robin Hood nodded nervously. "Yes, sir." "Don't call me sir today, just Landry. We're walking." They walked through the same streets as that night, past the grocery store, past the old church, past the broken street light at Willow and 3rd. "Tell me," Landry said quietly, "what do you see now?" Robin Hood looked around. The cracked sidewalks, the kids running with backpacks too big for them, the man sitting outside the diner with a paper cup and tired eyes. "I see people," he said softly. "Just people." Landry nodded. "That's where change starts." They stopped at a small park. Kids were playing basketball, their laughter echoing in the air. Robin Hood watched them, then looked at Landry. "Can I ask you something?" "Go ahead." "When you grabbed my arm that night, why didn't you yell or fight back? Why'd you stay so calm?" Landry smiled faintly. "Because I learned a long time ago that fear only listens to silence. I wanted you to see yourself, and you did." Robin Hood's eyes burned. "I didn't deserve that kind of grace." "Maybe not, but that's the only way we heal." They sat on a bench as the rain picked up again. Landry took off his hat and let the drops fall. "You know," he said, "I used to think leadership was about being in charge. Now I think it's about being seen. If I can't show you my pain, how can I expect you to understand anyone else's?" Robin Hood nodded slowly. "I get that now." And he did. Something inside him was shifting. Something deep, something uncomfortable but right. From that day, Robin Hood changed. He started talking to people instead of stopping them. He learned their names, their kids, their stories. When he saw teenagers walking home late, he offered them a ride instead of a warning. And people noticed. Months later, Eastbrook looked different. Not perfect, but better. The air felt lighter. People started waving to officers again. The walls of silence began to crack. At the town's annual community dinner, Landry stood on stage again. This time, Robin Hood stood beside him. "Tonight, I want to tell you a story, not about what went wrong, but what went right." He told them about how Robin Hood came to his office every week for months to learn, to listen, to change. He told them about the day Robin Hood helped a boy who got lost on his way home, not with suspicion, but with kindness. And he told them something even more surprising. Officer Robin Hood will now lead our new Community Trust Unit, a team built to bridge the gap between our police and our people. The room erupted in applause. Robin Hood's face flushed, but this time with pride. When the noise died down, Landry leaned close and whispered, "Now you understand what power really looks like." Robin Hood smiled. "It's not control, it's connection." Landry nodded. "Exactly." As the night went on, people came up to shake Robin Hood's hand. Kids took pictures with him. The same townspeople who once feared the police now saw them differently, not as threats, but as protectors again. When the evening ended, Landry walked outside and looked up at the sky. The stars were out for the first time in weeks. Robin Hood came beside him, hands in his pockets. "You think people can really change, Landry?" he asked quietly. Landry smiled. "People don't change in one big moment. They change in 1,000 small ones." Robin Hood nodded. "Then I'll keep walking." Landry looked at him, proud. "That's all I ever wanted." And just like that night months before, they walked together down the same street, this time side by side, under working lights, with no fear in the air. No cuffs, no shouting, just two men, once divided by fear, now united by something stronger, understanding. The rain had stopped, but the road still shimmered, and for the first time in a long time, Eastbrook felt alive again. Because one night, two men met in the dark, one with power, one with prejudice, and somehow, through pain, they both found light. That's how the man they harassed turned out to be their mayor and the man who changed their hearts forever.
Be part of our community and share in these meaningful stories. Just hit like and subscribe. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you can start your day with inspiring lessons and heartfelt moments.